era of de-bossification. Nobody wants a boss today.
I love this concept.
It's actually from Rishad Tobaccowala. I would say yes, courage, but I also think about it as responsibility. You've been put in the role for a reason. You can't back out from having hard conversations or confronting some hard truths. And it has been tough because I think as a personality, I'm an only child. I always was a people pleaser. And that's the biggest shift that I've had to make. So scope creep. Oh my gosh, in India, we have so much scope creep. We don't have that. In other markets, we can pick up the phone and say, hey, the proposal says 3 rounds of revision. We're now at round 30. I think we need to stop. But
that conversation is taken so badly.
I know.
It's like et tu brute. Like how could you say that to me?
Taj, who are my clients, is to carry off a sari very gracefully and elegantly. In the Indian context, I don't know what it is, Vidya, but I can tell you I've seen this time and time again. If I'm in a sari and in a boardroom versus in a suit, 360 difference to how... Yeah. 360 difference to how people engage with me. Goes back to what I started with. It's that fundamental interest in the other person.
Right.
When somebody feels that, hey, this person is interested in me, they just open up. And all I've done is just be interested rather than be interesting. I'm not trying to impress.
It's an absolute privilege for me to introduce our guest today, which is Lulu Raghavan. Lulu Raghavan is a brand and design evangelist. She is president of Asia Pacific and managing director of India at Landor. She has spent 25 years in Landor, that is fantastic, across San Francisco, New York, London, and Mumbai offices. She set up the Mumbai studio and spearheaded Landor's growth in India. Amongst the many awards that she's been honored with, some of them are Involve Heroes Global Top Executive 2025, Campaign Asia Women to Watch 2024, Campaign India Mentor of the Year 2023, Impact Top 50 Women in Media Marketing and Advertising across many years. She's also been one of the jurors at Cannes Lions Design. She's on the advisory board of ISD Parsons School of Design. She's also the trustee of the Dignity Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to welfare of senior citizens. Hi Lulu, how are you?
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Vidya. I'm doing fabulous today.
Thank you for coming. And I've been really thinking of inviting you for a very long time, so I'm glad that this happened. And I'm just wondering if it's a coincidence that it's around Women's Day.
Oh, that's great. I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Yeah.
It's on Sunday.
Yeah, it's on Sunday, just a few days away. I thought I'll give you some context. You know that I've been working with Chlorophyll for many years, and we also do the brand definition with brand owners, etc. And over the past few years, what I started noticing is that whether it was a huge enterprise or manufacturing unit, or whether it was a bank, whether it was a school, when we came down to doing the whole brand definition work, asking them about their core values, all of them would say empathy is one of them. And when you think about brand behavior and translating empathy into action, thinking about, it almost feels a bit fuzzy. It feels like, how do you measure it? How can you teach it or percolate it? So that was one angle. The other angle is, having been in the industry for so long, I noticed that there's a whole younger generation that is not willing to show up unless the work culture is more empathetic and more understanding. So I think our generation grew up at a time where, I've been screamed at by bosses. I've cried in the bathroom, and that was like a norm. Like you just, you go into work feeling anxiety. But I don't think that's norm anymore. And so I just thought that it's important to speak to leaders and understand what is empathy and how they are kind of putting it into action. And why I wanted to speak to you especially is because not only are you a leading, woman leader in our country, but also the fact that like when you came into India to set up Landor as the country head, that was a time where this industry, and I'm kind of merging brand consulting and advertising to, kind of
Sure.
one, because that's how it's viewed at the moment. There were just brand gurus, there were fathers of advertising. Most company leaders were men, and you had this hurricane task of establishing Landor, and look at where you've taken it today. You're the managing director, and it's grown so much. So wanted to really understand your perspective on empathy, leadership, women leadership, and really holding your ground.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I hope our conversation will have some interesting takeaways for all of your listeners.
You've lived in so many countries. So what I wanted to ask you is, across cultures, how does empathy really kind of play out, and how have you kind of navigated so many different cultures?
For me, Vidya, what's very important in the workplace is always establishing a very warm human connection with the other person.
Okay.
And you do that by getting into their shoes. At the end of the day, that's what empathy is about, right? If you look at the root word, it comes from pathos. It's feeling. So how do you feel what the other person is feeling or what they're going through? So whether it was San Francisco, New York, London, or when I was setting up Landor in India, my focus with people, whether it's our own team members, partners, or clients, has always been people first. Understand the person you're
Right.
dealing with. So I always ask a lot of questions. I try to be very present in the conversation. I get out of my head and try to get into their head to feel what they're feeling. I'm very curious about their journey, what led them to where they are today, their aspirations as well as their anxieties. And I try to, in my mind, form a vivid portrait of this individual.
Oh, nice.
And that helps to establish the chemistry.
Wow.
The other person then realizes you're interested in them. It's all about giving your time and attention in order to then start building rapport and the relationship.
That's so wonderful.
And this actually translates with your across the world,
Right.
which
Yeah.
was your question.
Yes. And it really shows, I feel like, even before this, when you were talking to me, I could see the interest you had in my life. And that's not something expected. I thought you'd walk in and, we'd just discuss what are the questions. But I could literally experience what you're saying.
Thank you.
Thanks, yeah. So I've known you from school. We both went to Cathedral together. You were my senior, and I used to totally look up to you. We were in the same house.
I know.
You were vice captain. So for me, I've always seen you in a leadership role. How has your leadership journey kind of shaped, and who's been your inspiration along the way?
That's a great question. And going back to school, when I wore that Cathedral School blazer for the first time, there was a realization that you're now a role model for others. I didn't know that people like you were looking up to me. But I certainly realized wearing that blazer that you were being watched. Your behaviors were important because you were modeling it. And there was a certain sense of responsibility, accountability that was deeply embedded in me from that point on. That was the first time when I actually realized I was a leader. I was in Queen Mary's before that, and I was a school prefect there as well. But there was a badge. Somehow the blazer, the sash with
Yes.
the 4 houses,
Oh,
all of the
yeah.
badges, that whole avatar started me thinking quite differently of my role. I then went on to Davidson in the US, and in my 3rd year, I became president of the International Students Union
Oh, wow.
Association. And that was the next time when I realized, hey, I have this role of bringing people together, representing a group. That's when I started thinking of leadership. I then joined Landor, but the first 7 years, it was more me being part of a team. It was only when I came back to India and set up Landor in India that I started thinking of myself as a leader, because I started hiring people.
Right.
We had 5 people, then 15, went to 20, then 50, and then 100, 150. Now it's 250 in India, and then 350 across APAC. So while that's not a huge number compared to a lot of large organizations, I've had to evolve as a leader in terms of how I interact with people. Firstly, the scale at which I'm doing now, that very hands-on, very one-on-one approach is not possible because you can't connect with everyone. When we were just 5 of us, the ladies of Landor, as we used to call them, we all used to have lunch together, Vidya.
Oh, lovely.
We were in the grey office in Parel, and that 1 hour lunchtime on the terrace where we sat together really helped us get to know each other beyond just work.
Right.
I can't do that. Now, most times my schedule is so busy, I'm eating lunch at my desk while doing something else. But what I try to do is I do make time for everyone on the team. For more of the people who report directly to me, it's weekly, but otherwise I have monthly connects, quarterly connects with whoever is important in the work that we are doing. And in that time, I apply the principles of, like I said earlier, being really present, understanding what challenges the other person is facing. How can I help?
Right.
I try to be very, very helpful. I think empathetic leadership is about understanding the other person, where they're coming from, what they're struggling with, and not always providing the answer. Maybe it's asking clarifying questions. Maybe it's saying, have you thought of this? Maybe it's saying, should you speak to somebody else? Maybe it's saying, have you tried this? It's more of a helpful, thoughtful intervention.
Right.
Rather than a direction of, oh, this is your challenge. I think this is the best thing to do.
Right. Not giving advice.
Not giving, I do give advice, but in a more, hey, have you thought about this? Do you want to consider this? It's really about warmth. It's about truly caring about the challenge the other person is facing and trying to think about whether any knowledge you can give, a connection that you can make, or anything else you can do that'll help ease the load of the other person. That to me is empathetic leadership.
Yeah.
And that's how I've evolved. Maybe in the first 5-10 years it was very directional because you're commanding, you're asking people to do, you're the boss. But it's the era of de-bossification. Nobody wants a boss today.
I love this concept.
It's actually from Rashad Tobaccowala.
Okay.
Who also grew up in Bombay but has lived in the US. He was a publicist for a long time and now is an independent consultant, a writer, a thinker. He actually writes a newsletter on the future of work. So I read a lot of his writing. I've read his book as well, and he calls it the era of de-bossification. So how could you be a leader who guides, who inspires, who coaches, not really directs and commands? And I have evolved in in those lines along the years, but more so I'm doubling down on that now.
Who's been your inspiration or who's kind of mentored you?
I've been very lucky. I've had 11 bosses in my 25 years and each of them has contributed to me. You learn a lot from the people that you report to, both by observing how they conduct themselves, but also by the things that they teach you.
Right.
So across the years, interestingly, they've all been men.
Oh,
and only now I have my first female boss, our global CEO.
Wow.
She's been an inspiration for a while. She has a can-do attitude, absolutely fearless, incredibly articulate and inspiring, and has that foresight and vision. So I pick up a lot from her. I read a lot. I observe other women from other industries, so whether it's Leena Nair, Sheryl Sandberg, originally Indra Nui, my original inspiration, a woman from India, also a Tamilian like me, went to the US, started at McKinsey, then went to PepsiCo and truly shattered all glass ceilings and did so well at PepsiCo and is giving back in so many different ways. So I've picked up a lot from indirect role models as well, not people that I directly know, a lot from my own bosses, and then other senior women colleagues in the ecosystem who I've snatched one or two mentoring conversations with.
And, kind of a segue into the next question. While we all want to be good leaders, while we all want to, be more empathetic and more warm and caring, there are tough times, right? We have to make tough business decisions or aggressive growth targets. So how do you really balance that? And if you can share some practical examples of how you have done it while growing Landor.
Yes, that's a very good question, especially because when you're empathetic, either with clients or with your team members, people really like you. And then when you do something that they don't like, it's hard to navigate.
That is insightful, yes.
I had a client at the Taj and, they all loved me and we had lots of good times. The project was going well and suddenly there was a lot of refinements and I had to have a tough conversation and say, hey guys, we've done quite a lot. Now we can't do more. And when I had that tough conversation, they couldn't take it because they'd never seen that side of me.
Right.
And so the lesson I learned there, and this is something I do a lot with people who just have started reporting to me, is to say, we're going to have a great rapport and a great relationship. I'm very empathetic. We'll have loads of fun together. But at the end of the day, this is not our business. We work for an organization. I have roles and responsibilities. And there are times when I will have to have tough conversations with you. So I want you to be prepared for that. That was my client.
Nice.
He had told me. He said, had you prepared us
to
say that, it's not only Lulu always fun and nice, I would have been mentally prepared, but we've never seen you. And what is this sudden, tough avatar that you have?
Right.
So it actually has made me preempt that, hey, we will have tough conversations. And I read a book many years ago on radical candor. That the best thing you can do as a leader is to be very honest when things are not working, to substantiate that with facts and help the other person understand and digest it. Gosh, Vidya, I've been leading the team for a while in India before my new role, and there were times when with senior leaders I've had to have hard conversations about them not inspiring their team, about them not delivering the results, about them being too political. And in the recent case, we had two very capable internal candidates for the MD of Landor. And then we eventually ended up getting someone externally because that was the best choice for the business. And so then navigating and explaining the rationale and yet keeping the internal candidates motivated was a Herculean task. And I had to lean into my empathy, but also lean into candor to navigate those conversations.
Right. And it takes a lot of courage. Because, there are some leaders I know who would at that point take a back seat and say, let the HR do it. Because I will... like you said earlier, it's not easy to be the bad cop. It's not easy to deal with the fact that I'm so popular and that's just going to kind of crash right now.
It does crash, and it's even worse when you have to let people go.
Yes.
And I've had to do a lot of that with senior people in the past several years. But it's a business decision, and some people have been very mature about it. And I know some have walked away, it's spoiled the relationship. But I can only do it with hand on my heart and conscience, saying that we've done the right thing for the business and here's the rationale. And it's tough. It's tough dealing with people. As you grow, like someone said, are you really sure you want to be the CEO? Do you know what the role entails?
Yes.
It's nice when we're young, where we all want to be at the top. But do we really understand that it's less about actually doing the work, it's more about leading, it's making high stakes decisions which impact a lot of people. And you do have to have a lot of clarity on your thinking clarity on principles that will guide you, decisiveness, and then I'd say the stamina to hold through even when people may question.
Right. Yeah.
I would say yes, courage, but I also think about it as responsibility. You've been put in the role for a reason. You can't back out from having hard conversations or confronting some hard truths. And it has been tough because I think as a personality, I'm an only child. I always was a people pleaser. And that's the biggest shift that I've had to make, And also when you're in the professional services business with clients,
right,
you tend to say yes.
Yes.
And sometimes I've learned the hard way because my team has been upset when they've said no, no, no. And then the client comes to me and I say yes. And we've had showdowns because my client directors will say, Lulu, you are weakening our stance by saying yes. So I would say I've become better in the last 3-4 years that we always align and then I have to support whatever the team has decided unless I really see things in a different way and I convince them before I speak to the client. But I don't overturn a team's decision just because it's hard for me to say no to the client.
Right.
But it's all been a thought process. I can't say that I handled this very well in my early years. I've hopefully learned from experience.
Yeah, and I think it's also the nature of the beast because in any service industry, especially the one like ours where we're dealing with very senior people, and that stake of not keeping that relationship strong is pretty much losing the account. And
no, absolutely.
So that also saying yes is also a business decision beyond just being a people pleaser at that point.
Yeah, it's also scope creep. Oh my gosh, in India we have so much scope creep. We don't have that in other markets. We can pick up the phone and say, hey, the proposal says 3 rounds of revision. We're now at round 30. I think we need to stop. But
that conversation is taken so badly.
I know.
It's like et tu brute. Like how could you say that to me? So I'm going to ask you another, big challenge that most people in this industry have. And I'm sure anyone in the creative field would love to hear the answer to this. How do you balance, I don't want to say brittle egos, but the fact that there are creative directors who have very rightfully earned the right to have strong opinions and that's what their talent is about. But how do you balance that with clients and unforgiving deadlines? And I would call it client brutality at times. Like there are times I feel like I have sent an email saying these are the options, and within 5 minutes of that email I've got a reply saying none of these work, please give me more. And it's quite difficult to be that person who's then going to communicate to the creative director and say, okay, this didn't fly at all and let's start, but there's really no valuable feedback from the other side or anything tangible to work on. So how do you kind of balance that?
This is the bane of our roles, right? Every day we have high stakes meetings. Probably 60% of them go well. 40% of them, each one is a train wreck in a different way. And you've got to manage everyone. You've got to manage the client who's disappointed. You've got to manage the creatives and the strategists who worked on it, who are disappointed. So it comes down to effective stakeholder navigation. One of the things that I like to do is try to be as objective as possible in terms of what we're trying to achieve for the business. Because subjectivity is there all of the time. But let's say we are doing an identity refresh, which we were doing recently for an industry body. And everyone had said at the briefing stage that what's required is revolutionary change. But when it came down to it, nobody actually wanted to pick the revolutionary option because it was comfortable to tweak and to go with something that doesn't challenge the audience, that isn't bold and differentiated. So in those instances, it's to remind people saying, wait a minute, guys, I'm going to interject here. I know you have feedback on the work, but didn't we all agree that actually the whole point of this refresh is to create a reappraisal by the audiences?
Right.
And will the tweaks and the direction in which we're moving actually achieve that? So you actually pose it as a question.
Right.
And you'll have one or two people who may come around and in that instance said, yeah, Lulu, you're right. Actually, we did sign up for something bolder. Maybe we need to understand the rationale of the bolder options. Maybe let's try to unpack what's making us feel uncomfortable.
Right.
And you know, Vidya, I learned this from an expat creative director that we brought on board about 7-8 years ago. He was with us for just a year. But what I learned from him was he had this amazing magic of turning around a negative meeting, a similar situation where you go into a client, you present, and within 2 minutes they say, Maza nahi aaya. No option I like. And then he would say, okay. And then he would slowly go around and get everyone's feedback. He would address it. And then he had this magical way, by the end of the meeting, either everything was more positive or they had actually aligned on a direction.
Oh, fantastic.
It was by listening to people out and saying, okay, you don't really agree with this font. Tell me more. What is it that's bothering you? Okay, yeah, I see that. I get it. Going to somebody else and say, you mentioned that this was not sophisticated enough. Can we unpack that a little bit more? I think what happens, I've seen this with my teams, the minute the body language is negative and clients are like, this doesn't work, nothing works, our team shuts down as well.
Right.
Right? And we also get scared. We're like, oh crap, this meeting is going south.
Right.
And we don't want to listen. But what that expat creative director taught me is no matter how difficult it is, get every piece of feedback out.
Wow.
And then work your way through it. The other thing is, in the crits, in the pre-meetings, you have to have the alignment with your creative and strategy team on the work. And that's where a lot of hard feelings happen as well. It becomes the creative director says, I want to show it. The strategist and the client folks are saying, but it actually doesn't make sense for XYZ reasons. That's where the rapport, chemistry, respect is important.
Right.
Because I've seen our creatives respond well when some logic, when some valid concerns are being raised. They're not going to say, I'm going to disregard that. Sometimes they do say it and I say, fine, let's go ahead. And they've learned in meetings what happens. Sometimes it's a process that you have to build the trust and rapport between everyone on the team. And we have this concept of the triad, the strategist, the client manager, and the creatives.
Right.
And we, of course, all agencies have it, but we really say that we have to be united and agree what we're going to show clients. Let's have our showdowns before the client showdown, right?
Yeah.
But it is about listening and hearing the other person out. I think sometimes we as strategists and client managers also shut down things too fast because we're scared of what the client may reject. And just on a smaller note on sending stuff, it's a rule. I never ever send on email, whether it's names or strategy refinements. I'll say, let's get on a quick 5-minute call. Because what happens, Vidya, is that they're looking at that email between 150 things. Their mind's not there, their presence not there, and it'll always come back killed. Just this morning, I had a naming presentation with the CEO of a holdco that we're renaming. He missed the meeting day before yesterday. And he said, send me the names. I said, we're not going to send you the names. Then he messaged me and called me saying, I don't have any time, Lulu. You just have to send me the names. I promise you I'll get back to you. And I said, I promise you, you will come back and say you don't like anything.
Nice. Okay.
And you need to give me 5 minutes. Tell me, I will make myself available. So he at 8 a.m. this morning, we got on a call. We ran through 30 names with him. He shortlisted 5. But I had to push back and I had to laugh and say, listen, I've done this a lot. I promise you, you won't have any names. And the last 2 weeks of work that we've done will be down the drain. So no, respectfully. I have spent time investing He's based in Hyderabad. He came to Mumbai 2 months ago. It's all happening virtually. But I took time on a Saturday to meet him for lunch. We know each other better now. We've built a rapport outside of the project.
Right.
And that helps.
Thank you. These are such practical tips, and I think it's so important. It might sound small, but I think this is the real crux of the game.
It is, and I keep telling my team, we're all so busy, but if we don't step out and get to know our clients like the old ad guys, right?
Yeah.
And girls did, they were so good at client relationships. I feel like in the branding and design business, we're very chop.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't remember their birthdays, we don't wine and dine them. Honestly, Vidya, there is a place for that because they want to be known as people as well, not just as the client who's barking orders at you.
Yeah.
You need to have that relationship in order to have harder conversations. And by the way, also to sell great work.
Yes, I totally
It's not
agree
just
with
about the harder conversations, it's the courage. You're giving clients the courage to say, we've done our work and we think this is going to work because, or putting the data behind it.
that. Right.
They have to have a leap of faith. Big ideas, breakthrough work is uncomfortable for everyone. And that relationship building pays off.
Right.
When they say, okay, Lando or Lulu or whoever else, we believe in what you've put on the table and we're going to go with it.
Right. Yeah.
But my team always jokes with me. They're like, you have a way of getting stuff out and connecting with people. It goes back to what I started with. It's that fundamental interest in the other person.
Right.
When somebody feels that, hey, this person is interested in me, they just open up. And all I've done is just be interested rather than be interesting. I'm not trying to impress. I'm not trying to get in as much speaking points.
Right.
I'm there to listen. And that presence has a charisma that's unmatched by what you might speak and try to impress. So be interested, not interesting, as they say.
Okay, that's very, very useful. And I can see why you got that award of Mentor of the Year. I read about that. That is in 2025. You have been mentoring a lot. So do you want to speak about that? And does that connect to your book, Go Further Faster?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that question, Vidya. I would say that mentoring has actually shaped me as a leader because that's when you're not in a boss situation.
Right.
You're actually putting in the hours to help somebody else rise.
Right.
So it's honed my listening skills, honed my empathy skills, my ability to actually think through and suggest solutions
Right.
to a number of things. You know, my mentees have all sorts of problems from family issues to relationship issues to work issues, boss issues, competence and knowledge issues. So it's really broadened my gamut of issues on which I need to have a perspective.
Okay.
It's also made me know about the experiences of so many different people and then I can cross-pollinate.
Right.
That's been very fantastic. And I think I've also learned a lot from what people share, how they then address what works, what doesn't. And I wanted to do more of this, but I can't do mentoring at scale because mentoring is time.
Yes.
And there's limited time. I have a pretty tough job as well. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I said, what's the next best thing to mentoring at scale? It's to put everything that I know into a podcast or a book. And I chose a book because I love writing. I've written for Lando over the years. I then dabbled with a newsletter for 120 weeks. And then I said, okay, now I need to do a book. In fact, one of my design directors, Pavitra, said, Lulu, every corporate leader has a book. You better do it before it's too late. So she egged me.
Okay.
And literally, Vidya, on a flight from Delhi to Bombay, I used to fly a lot then. And I loved the flights because you should put off the phone.
Right.
And it was your sort of captive time to do what you want. I used to read a lot. And on one of those flights, I literally storyboarded the concept of the book.
Oh, lovely.
Within an hour and a half. And I said, okay, this is what I want to do. It's a guide, a young woman's guide to conquering your career, the things that I wish I knew when I was starting out. I wish I had a mentor who had spelled it out all out so clearly. So the book has 3 parts. Part 1 is body, mind, and soul.
Okay.
A holistic approach to professional and personal development. Part 2 is using the tools of branding to brand yourself.
Oh, fantastic.
To give yourself a competitive advantage in the workplace. Part 3 is how you keep growing and evolving. And the last part is handy how-tos, which everyone loves. How to ask for a raise, how to say no, how to create your own tribe, how to disagree with bosses, very practical things. And Go Further Faster was not about speed, but it's about things that you start doing earlier on which compound.
I read about your philosophy of play every day, and I've heard you talk about it on other podcasts. But the question I really had is that, given the kind of responsibilities you have, you're also a mother of 2, you also have parents. So how does one play every day when you have so many responsibilities?
It's all about intentional time and energy management.
Okay.
And what you schedule in your day is reality. So I schedule exercise, I schedule time with friends, I schedule golf, yoga, paddle, I schedule meetings, I schedule conferences, I schedule holidays. It sounds a bit anal to schedule everything, including date nights. But you have to do it because, like I said, it's time and energy management. Otherwise, it never happens. And so that's the handy hack.
Okay.
If it's not in your diary, it's not going to happen.
And play every day is what? What is the philosophy?
The philosophy is don't just be focused on an end goal. You've got to enjoy the journey. Have fun. That play for me is a mindset.
Right.
Have fun with everything that you're doing. Keep it light.
Right.
Sometimes we're so serious and so intense. So it's about that enjoyment. It's the joy in every day. And it's remembering that your time on earth is limited. You may not be there tomorrow.
Right.
So don't put things off either. If you want to write a book, start by writing 100 words a day. If you want to lose weight, start by exercising 2 minutes a day. Right? It's literally that what you do every day becomes what you do in life.
This is unrelated to anything to do with, branding. But I was watching this, there was the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda, right?
Yeah.
And, around this empathy, I've been watching and reading. But this is something that really stayed with me because her speech when she was resigning spoke about the fact that she's like, I'm a crier, I'm a hugger, and I'm very emotional, I'm quite sentimental, I'm sensitive. And I want you to know that even then, there is a place for people like me here, which is, she was talking about the parliament. So the question to you really is that, is there a place for people like that who are more sensitive in the corporate world? By place, I mean, will they grow?
100%. Actually, that reminds me of something we haven't talked about, which is vulnerability.
Right.
I actually did a TEDx talk at VidyaDamani several years ago where the principal invited me as a parent to be one of the TEDx speakers, and I talked about the power of vulnerability. And when I think back on my life and my career, Vidya, I do think that one of the things that helps me connect with people, either one-on-one, in a team, or in a large group, is actually being more vulnerable as a leader, by admitting your mistakes, by showing your flaws, by volunteering parts of you that you don't necessarily have to share. You create more of a equality versus a unequal relationship.
Okay.
And so vulnerability also means sometimes showing your tears. Vulnerability also means, guys, I know this is an incredibly hard situation. I don't have all of the answers either. Let's double down and figure it out together. It's also saying, guys, I led you down this path. It was the wrong thing to do. I'm sorry. Or it is
You've
also
had situations
to say,
like
yes,
that?
a lot.
Yeah.
I have apologized to my team. I thought we should do this. It didn't work out this way. The client meeting went really bad. I'm really sorry. This is how we should course correct. And people love it when the boss says, I'm sorry. They do, because apparently it's not expected.
It's not expected.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't do it just to create effect. I do it in a very genuine way. I actually learned this from one of my bosses. He used to say thank you and sorry a lot. And I realized when it's genuine, people love it. Even when I tell somebody, thank you for helping me organize this. If I reach out to an EA of a client and she's, set up the meeting and I'll say thank you to her, they feel so happy.
Right.
People want to feel validated. And so I think there's also validation that, hey, this person has also made mistakes. This person can also talk about their failures. And it took me a long time to learn that. The first 10, 15 years when I used to do talks and interviews, it was always about the successes. And somebody actually took me aside and said, firstly, it's boring because you're not perfect. And secondly, don't be so full of yourself. Talk about your learnings and mistakes.
Right.
It's a lot more interesting. And it is also a way to connect with people because people want to learn because they can't always achieve what you have achieved. I've had so many moments of self-doubt, moments when I walked away, when my career didn't take off, when I was fired from projects, when I had ego conflicts with clients.
Right.
You've got to talk about all of that. It's equally part of the journey.
Thank you, because, when one thinks of a role model, you want to look up to someone. And I think over the years, we've all believed that you look up to someone for their achievements. And I think by describing this, what you've really brought to light is that you look up to someone for their achievements, but through the failures also.
Yeah.
Because I have always felt that you need to be sorted out. You need to leave your tears outside the door. When you go into a team, you need to have solutions because everyone looks at the boss for solutions, right? Yeah. So if you don't have solutions, then you're kind of failing the whole team. But I think what you're saying is that there is a different aspect to it where vulnerability plays a very important role.
Yeah, and I would say one thing on feedback as well, which I've taught the team, because we have to deal with this every day, is I know it's hard, but you've got to distance yourself from the feedback. Don't take it personally, because people get stomach aches and headaches when the client is unhappy.
I'll be honest, I can feel my anger rising.
Yes.
And unfortunately, my face can't
and I have been
hide it.
I'm just like you, where I will roll my eyes or get frustrated or defensive. And it's taken a lot of work over the years to be able to collect that feedback and then process it in a way that's respectful both to the client and the team. But it is by distancing it. And when the end of the day the work is done, either I have a shower and forget about it, or I go and do some sports or something. You've just got to let it go.
Nice.
I've had bad experiences. There was one project, I remember, I think it was 2020, 2021. I was going off on a holiday, and on the day of the holiday, I had really bad feedback. And the client actually told us that, because of your bad project, I'm not going to be promoted.
That's
my God. I went on a ski holiday for 10 days, Vidya. Every time I was going up that, riding up to the top of the mountain, my stomach was churning. I was like, why am I doing this to myself? It's just a project. And this person was also completely out of line to have said that. But it did take a toll on me, and I learned that I'm never going to allow this to happen to our younger people. People's feelings are precious. And when you mess with feelings, it's very hard to recover. I've apologized to a lot of people sometimes when I've been harsh. I send an email, I send a message, or I just go to them and give them a hug and say, listen, I'm sorry, I think I was a little bit harsh. I don't take it personally. Because people always, as Maya Angelou said, they don't remember what you said or what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. There's always a feeling. If I say Vidya, or I say Meghna, or Kiran, or Lulu, you ask somebody, more than words, there's a feeling associated with them. It's that gut feeling. That's brand.
Thank you so much. And I can't tell you how much I've taken back from this conversation, and I'm sure everyone who's watching has also. And thank you for so honestly sharing. I feel like I was just sitting in a living room and chatting with you. I didn't feel like it was a podcast.
It's great. Thank you for your wonderful questions. It does make me reflect as well. And I always like bringing out these stories because it's a reminder that it has value for others.
Someone had once told me that to really excel at your work, it's not just your output, but no one should go to sleep feeling horrible because on account of you or what you've said.
I'll take this away from our conversation.
Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have. I've learned a lot from it. If you have any questions, please write into me. If you have any suggestions of the kind of guests that we could have, please do write into me. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next episodes.